What is up, party people? Welcome back to another video. So today we're going over the Resto Druid. Yes, it's been long enough, right? So we're back to our roots, pun intended, of course. Playing Resto Druid, I've been really enjoying it recently, and I will tell you why I'm back on it. Why am I all of a sudden enjoying Resto Druid again? Because I know I've been shitting on it a lot. Sorry, but it's because I'm passionate. Okay. I will tell you exactly why. We're going to go over a guide based on the new patch. We're getting some new talents that I will show you and go over my talents, what I'll be running for that patch as well, the stats, the gear, the basics of healing, macros. I don't really have many macros, but I'll go over that very quickly, and then some gameplay analysis of a solo shuffle game. All right, so let's get right into this here. So to start off here, we're just going to go over the gear. So for gear is the reason that I am enjoying it again, because previously I was playing full verse mastery because I know you had to play mastery to to heal, but low haste is just awful. It's awful. And after playing disc, I am addicted to playing haste classes, and I can't play anything that doesn't have high haste. So I'm playing haste mastery now because I noticed a lot of other druids are doing it. I was like, wait a second, why didn't I think of that? And well, I copied from them, and dude, I'm freaking enjoying it. So I'll show you guys what I did. The breakdown that I ended up going for was in PvP combat, roughly about 30% haste, just under 20% mastery, and 20% burst. So 30, 20, 20 is what I was going for. You know, you can mix and match the best what you'd like. You certainly don't need this much haste. If you want to go like a little bit more burst, that would be fine, but I just love the haste, so that's what I did. So when it comes to the gear, all of my gems are going to be mastery haste, except for this one, just because this one verse gem gave me 20% even verse, just for OCD's sake. But verse mastery helm, the PvP helm, crafted haste mastery neck with all mastery enchants, tier shoulders, verse mastery cloak, tier chest, crafted haste mastery bracers, mastery mace, and haste offhand from the bloody tokens, tier gloves, crafted haste mastery belt, tier legs, and crafted verse mastery boots. Okay, and then the ring, verse mastery ring, crafted with mastery enchant, and then haste mastery ring with mastery enchant. The two embellishments I'm using is precog, and then the mastery one. I could alternatively run the crit one, the Infurious. I think this one would be good as well, but I don't have haste or mastery, which is the two stats I'm going for. So I ended up opting out of that one, and there really is nothing else left, so you just went for the mastery one. And then for the insignia, obviously. So this is what I run for threes. What I run for twos, because y'all know I like to convoke. This is what I'm running for twos. Okay, so the things that I do change, I switch to the PvP neck that has a lot more verse, so verse mastery neck, and then I switch to the boots here for the increased primary stat, because this is really good for convoke, because when you open with a rake stun into a convoke, you get the 5/10 intellect buff, which makes it a lot better. And then the verse mastery ring, I swapped out the haste mastery one, so I'm running double verse mastery rings with the crit badge. So basically what happened is I took a bunch of haste out, I took a little bit of mastery out, and I moved it towards verse. I gained 10% verse, which is because I want to do more damage and to live more. In twos, you do get attacked quite a bit more than in threes, so it is going to be a tad more tankier, but mostly for the damage on convoke. So yeah, that's it for the gearing. When it comes to the talents, I'm going to use the PTR here because this is what the guide is for. The guide is for the next patch, and so the three new talents that we are getting is we are getting Grove Guardians, which is kind of like the old trance, and you will cast it 3k mana, which is not a lot. It's about the same as a Life Bloom, or maybe slightly less. It is less than a Life Bloom, so it's a very cheap Life Bloom with focus growth, mind you. And you will cast it on a target. It will cast Swiftmend immediately, and then it will cast subsequent nourishes on the target. 20-second recharge. The important thing though is that it's off the global cooldown, so you can be spamming your hots and then also just throw in a Grove Guardian while you're doing it. So that could be really nice to have, and it's just another tool for our toolkit to be using. And then the secondary talent is the Growth card. Growth Guardians will also cast Wild Growth. So this is something I'm still thinking about. I don't think I'm going to run this in 2s. 3s, I gotta see how much healing it ends up doing. I think it will probably be worth in 3s, but I definitely don't think it's worth it in 2s. Because Waking Dream gets really good value in 2s because there's so much more downtime of me like running around pillars, me being offensive. This is just so much more passive healing for me. So I typically will stick with Ysera's Gift, the Waking Dream. And Wild Growth won't give that much value because it's like, even in PvP, it's like 18k over 7 seconds, which is like nothing. It ticks for like 1.1k, so it's really not a lot at all. If I were not to run this, I'm either between Waking Dream or Improved Regrowth, so one of the two there. All right, and the other new talent that we got is Master Shapeshifter. So this was the PvP talent. Really interesting for them to put this in the regular tree, but I'm kind of down for it a little bit. In 2s I don't mind, but in 3s it's kind of annoying because it messes up with the builds, for me at least. And yeah, so Shapeshifter here is I know it's 2s it messes up, not 3s. 3s that's fine. Okay, so basically this is going to give you more mana regen for your bites and rips and maims. In 2s, it's pretty much always going to be bites and maims, occasional rips, but you're getting 10k mana from these. The interesting interaction, though, if you don't already know this, is Convoke does interact with Shapeshifter. So Convoke, if I cat form Convoke somebody and I get 3 bites, which is very possible, you can even get lucky, you get 4. And then it also gives you 5 combo points, which would be a 5th bite. 5 bites equals 50,000 mana on a 1-minute cooldown. That is a lot. And in this is something you do have to be playing towards, though. So if you're not used to playing like that, if you ever watch my streams or watch my videos, me playing Druid, I'm constantly like behind a pillar in cat form, swiping a pet or like swiping a totem or whatever it is, and just getting combo points whenever I can, so that when I need to maim, I have maim always available for me. And doing stuff like that will give you definitely some good mana regen. So that is the other talent here. So that is the new stuff that we're getting. Everything else is the same. We are getting a net nerf of healing by 4%, which isn't that big of a deal. It's gonna probably kind of even out this Grove Guardian stuff, so might not be any different. When it comes to the builds, though, I do have a 2 builds that I use. I have a 2s build here, so this is my 2s build with kick. I don't currently have a build without kick right now, just because I pretty much always felt the need to have kick. But if I didn't need kick, I usually end up still playing it because you get 6% damage to everything. But this is what I end up playing for kick. I make sure I have the speed boost. I have Heart of the Wild still for Convoke. How I use Heart of the Wild is I wait for a guaranteed Convoke. If I'm versing like a warrior or something, or whatever I'm versing, I wait for them to trinket, and then the next Convoke will be Heart of the Wild. That's how I use Heart of the Wild. I use it as like an execute kind of thing. When I know it's a guaranteed Convoke, I will use this. And you also get some use out of it, getting the double fringy regens too from Guardian. Alternatively here, wow, I just realized I don't have improved. I don't have improved Nature's Cure on this spec. I gotta really mindful of that. I didn't realize I didn't have that there. But yes, there's definitely some games I'm probably gonna want to have that. So I gotta figure out what I'm doing with this. I just noticed that till now. But regardless, that's my 2s build. And then in 3s, this is what I've been playing. So 3s, on the class side of things, you notice I did go down the bear path a little bit more to be a little more tankier because I am playing less verse. And then I went down, I dropped Heart of the Wild. I picked up 1 in Feline Swiftness, and I do want to stick with Tyler's Pursuit. This is personal preference. You do not need to play these if you feel like you don't maim ever. Don't play maim. But like, there's a lot of Restors that will just cut all this out. They'll run Rake Stun, and then they'll go the rest on the Boomy side and go for like Astral Influence or Star Surge or something like that. Or maybe just pop more down at the bottom. I know some people play Nature's Vigil. I think Nature's Vigil is just garbage, though. It's just like bad pad damage. Yeah, so this is what I run for 3s on this side. On the spec side, this is the one that's going to be kind of tougher. Is like we talked about with the trees. I'm going to experiment more with the wild growth part of it, but definitely going to be running the trees. The tough part here is Invigorate versus... I've actually been playing with Invigorate recently. It is coming clutch. I don't use it very often, but there's definitely some clutch situations where I get really good use out of it. The question is going to be Shapeshifter or Invigorate for me. I think in regular 3s I'll be running Shapeshifter. And in solo shuffle lobbies that are, I know that the games are going to be long, like it's all casters or some crap, and you know, it could come down to mana, but most games don't come down to mana, to be honest. So in that case, I'll run Invigorate, but it's going to have to just depend on the game. Otherwise, everything else is kind of the same. This is the normal Druid build, running Germination, Budding Leaves, Undergrowth, all that jazz. Make sure you guys read talents, by the way. You know, people make a big mistake about not reading the talents. Like interactions here, Cultivation gives you an extra hot for your mastery under 60%. Harmonious Blooming, when you have Life Bloom, you get 3 stacks of mastery. Rampant Growth, whenever you regrowth one target, it also puts the hot onto every other target with Life Bloom, so you can regrowth hot 3 targets at once, which all affected by mastery. Any other ones that are important interactions? Obviously, Burden Infusion extends your dots. Double Life Bloom. Yeah, but just make sure to read your talents, guys. Especially if you're like new to a class or new to a spec. Okay, that's it. So those are my 2s and 3s builds at the moment. When it gets to PvP talents, this is my kind of my go-to. Well, I want to say this is probably the go-to. Focus Growth, Keeper of the Grove, and Resin. If there's a game that you don't get use out of Resin, you run Thorns. If you don't get use out of Thorns, you can run whatever you want. Run High Winds. High Winds got nerfed though. It wasn't supposed to be nerfed for Resto, but it was. So, and then you can even run Disentanglement or Entangling Bark. I don't even use it for Resto, so maybe there'll be cases that I could get use out of it. But yeah. So that's it for the PvP talents. Yeah, maybe even Deep Roots in a bunch of caster matchups that aren't maybe like Boomy Warlock, I guess. You can maybe run Early Spring. That actually probably wouldn't be that bad. And yeah, that's it for the talents there. When it comes to macros, really quick, because macros I don't really use many. The ones that I do use is cancelform wild charge. So this is an important one. Let me go on retail for this. So cancelform wild charge. So wild charge in your human form will pull you to a target. And what this macro is, so I have this as a separate macro than regular wild charge, is that if I'm in a certain form, so let's say I am in bear form, I'm walking this way, but I know I want to try to juke somebody out. I can press this and it'll cancel me out of the form and then wild charge me. On that note, cancel form in general is very, very important. If you do not already have this for any Druid spec, you need to have this as a separate bind. I promise you. Always have that as a separate bind to be able to shift in and out as fast as possible. So if I'm sitting here spamming cat form, look how long it takes for me to shift out. If I'm getting spam slowed, that is no good. If I'm getting spam slowed, I need to be shifting in and out as fast as possible to stop all the stuff. And the cool thing about that is, like, if you need to kite in bear form, you can go travel form, cancel form, bear form. So now you're running fast bear form for a few seconds, and you can kind of get away a little bit better around pillars and stuff. So you need to have a cancel form macro for sure. Other macros that I use is really just focused. I don't even use focus bash. The drink macro. Is this the same one I have? This is probably not the same one I use. But just a drink macro here. You can just copy that. I don't think I use this. Oh, I'm not in a party, that's why. Yeah, so that's the macro for that. Excuse me. But I think that's it, yeah. That's all I use. Oh, I use a Innervate party member. Always innervate yourself macro. So target equals player innervate. I think I use that. And yeah, that's it. All the macros I use. Okay, so as for the actual healing of the class, basically it comes down to Life Bloom is always a priority because of this talent. You get 3 stacks of mastery. So your first global every single time should be Life Bloom on the target. And then after that, I typically don't triple stack it right away. Sometimes I will if I have time. But if it's like kind of an emergency situation, I'll end up like Life Blooming and then Swift Mend and then extend it. And then use another rejuve to get the empowered one from Soul of the Forest, and then start hiding from there. Just a quick note on that. So, see, this is the empowered rejuve, this Germination one. If I just keep spamming rejuve, it's going to overwrite your big one. Okay, so don't be careful if you do Soul of the Forest rejuve, you will overwrite it. And on that note of Soul of the Forest as well, make sure you're not wasting those Soul of the Forest. So if you have a if you Swift Med and you have it up, if your teammates are not dying, use it for a rejuve. It's really, really good. It's almost a double, I think. 15k versus like 5k or 7k. It's a really big difference in those rejuves. And if they are taking damage, then you're going to regrowth them. On the note of regrowth, make sure you are paying attention to rampant growth. So you know, make sure that you get once you have your life looms on both targets, you can regrowth yourself or regrowth them, and you'll get the hot on everybody, which is an extra contributor to the mastery. Other than that, you know, keep up Cenarian Ward on cooldown, keep up Adaptive Swarm, and Cenarian Ward. Click that, keep them both on off, using them off cooldown. I don't know what I'm saying. And then I use Invigorate kind of only in clutch situations. When I was playing Invigorate, like I was talking about, I really only use it when like really dying. I know it has a 20-second cooldown, but I rarely do need it. And let your hots do the work, guys. Trust in your hots sometimes. If you have a full row of hots, I know it's gonna get some practice to like figure out what saves you and what doesn't save you. But there's a lot of cases where you can let it ride. Don't panic. Don't spam regrowth, get kicked, and then lose the game, kind of thing. Where you can kind of let them ride out a little bit. And then Iron Bark is obviously your big defensive to use. So when you see damage coming in, try to use it preemptively, like you see them pop all their cooldowns. Press it early so that they don't take all the damage in the first place, because it does reduce all damage taken by 20%. Yeah, I think that's about it when it comes to the basics of healing. All right, sounds good to me. All right, so let's do some gameplay here. So I have a Soul Shovel lobby I wanted to show you guys of kind of the way to mix in healing, positioning, CC in a Soul Shovel lobby. Let me just tell you, we got really briefly a Soul Shovel. I've been playing today. I started playing this Resto Druid Soul Shovel yesterday. I went from like 2k to I'm 1 game away from 24. I need to freaking get that. But dude, it felt so good. Why are people sleeping on this shit? Like, people say Ardra feels bad. No, Disc feels bad. I know what bad feels like. Resto Druid is really not bad at all in Solo Shuffle. Maybe things might change in regular 3s, but dang, this actually feels pretty good. So I'll show you exactly why I think it feels good. I think it's because of Cyclone. But the healing feels really good. So at the beginning of every game, I'm going to be lifeline both targets, and then the target that I believe is going to be the kill target is I'm going to Cenarian Ward and swarm them. If I don't know who they're going to go, I'll usually ward one target, swarm the other, just in case. If they I think they're going to go you, so there are cases where you know that they're going to go you. Sometimes double melees will just like, they'll give up and they say, oh, just try the Druid, and they'll just go you. If that's the case, you can always ward and swarm yourself while you're in stealth. But otherwise, so we're going to start off here. I start at almost every single game off with double stun. So I'll rake target, bash target. This I kind of fucked up here, and I couldn't get to him quick enough. I end up getting stunned. They should have been able to kick that, but he missed his kick, so I got cloned. So it is what it is. So this was a very unfortunate opener here. And then I get cloned again. I could have reset there, but I didn't. And yeah. So at this point, we're gonna have to catch up. So I do use Overgrowth, Innervate. I could have used Innervate first, but whatever. Get the life loom up on both targets here, and then just be mindful of positioning. Of course, Fear. I thought that was gonna be on me. That should have been on me. Actually, I was DR'd. Take that back. And just keep me up pots. I was trying to clone the Tyrant there. It was pointless at that time, but okay. Keep me up the life looms. Don't let them fall. Oh, note on life loom. Sorry, I completely forgot. You always want to refresh the life looms right before they're about to end, for the sake of keeping up your stacks. If you refresh life loom about the last 4 seconds, you will still get the bloom effect. If you just spam life loom on the target, they'll never get the bloom. You want to wait till it gets to the end. So don't just sit there spamming life loom on targets. Try to wait for it to get to about the last few seconds and then refresh it. Okay, these are cases where I do want to go for CC. So I want to charge in for once my targets are stabilized, everybody has their hots. Take advantage of CC. I go in there, try to stun. I get unfortunately feared. I trinket out of it. I get the rake stun. Go for the half clone, go back to finishing on my hots. Make sure life loom is most important. Anything else can fall off, but you don't want to let the life looms fall. All right, that's always the priorities. Never let the life looms fall. Pressing hots on everybody. Get in a good position to avoid CC here. Okay, we get feared. I'm going to spell my curse here and just get a re-stealth. Take advantages of re-stealths as well. Any sort of 6-second CC will give you an automatic re-stealth. If I get feared, a full poly, a full clone, a full trap, you can get a re-stealth out of it. Why is that important? You can stun. Okay, so always take advantage of those. So he unfortunately banners that stun. I do swipe up, so I do have couple points. I'm going to go for a maim. Again, taking advantage of the maims. Those in solo shuffle, any CC can be really impactful to the game. Okay, going back to keeping up my hots. Always keeping mindful of things. This is kind of like a healer positioning thing in general. Staying out of line of fears or anything that could be a threat of you. So I'm not out of line of this druid at all times. Out of line of this guy at all times, unless I'm going for CC. Okay, keeping up hots. And notice I am playing the Nourish Town here. I usually don't play it. I was experimenting, but regardless. Keeping up the hots, extending them with life blooms, throwing in the extra rejuves. Everybody's full health, so I'm trying to see if I can get a re-stealth here. I'm gonna regrowth myself to wait off this re-stealth. I don't think I do actually get it, cool. But it breaks on the jump there for some reason. Don't know how I got hit by something, but whatever. Keeping up the life blooms again. Okay, we get a sweep here. I'm looking, the Jiro's coming off clone DR just now, so I'm gonna go for a clone onto him. And then when it comes to cloning, at lower ratings, you can, because I was playing my alt at like 1700s, dude, you could clone a lot. You could really take advantage of that. Like, you're cloning the healer, and then you're cloning the off target, and then you're cloning the main target on their defensives. Like, clone your ass off. I swear, you could just win games. I was playing full haste verse with no mastery, just because I was gearing, and I was winning games very well just from cloning. That's all you needed to do. Okay, so I couldn't get a reclone there, unfortunately, but the druid, this guy does wall. In a case where I wasn't playing with a warlock, I would have cloned this low for sure. I ended up going for it. I wasn't locked in the DRs, so there you go. That was a bad clone on my end. Vortexing things to keep it in line. Again, keep in mind of my positioning, right? I'm staying out of line of the druid unless I'm going in for CC. Okay, he gets that. We're gonna just keep up the hots. Looking for a spot to clone. I can't clone the druid. No point in cloning this guy at the moment, so I'm going to clone the off target. Clone the off target makes your healing a lot easier. Swiping for a maim. I go for the clone. He unfortunately, I should have just stunned him there first. He melts it. He did a good job with that. I should have stunned that first into a clone. Now we get cloned quarter, which is fine. Now we're going to overgrowth to refresh. This part gets a little shaky here, so I get all full hots up. Also, another note, I forgot to mention this earlier with Life Bloom, is if you're facing a single target, like just a ton of single target damage, keep the second Life Bloom on yourself so that your hots tick a little faster because of photosynthesis. Okay, I go for a clone, I get insta-kicked, which is unfortunate, but I do have my main ready, like I said, holding on to those combo points whenever possible. I go to try to clone the Tyrant, I get insta-kicked, which was a rake. This was an unfortunate situation. So shit's kind of hitting the ceiling. Fan? No, shit's hitting the fan. Shit's hitting the ceiling. Whatever, the shit's hitting the fan. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna end up just using our Hellstone here, and then saving Trank for those situations where I need a little bit more. Unfortunately, I couldn't hold that Trank because he was dying, so I'm gonna have to push in here, go for the Swiftman, and fortunately we ended up winning there because the game was about to end. But yeah, there's an example of a solo shuffle round, guys. So just big takeaways: never let Life Bloom fall. Use your CCs, and also interesting minds. Actually, they just weren't doing a lot of damage. So I'm like, why is he and oh, he's not he's in bear form. Or is him? Yeah, he's him. And I'm at 40% mana still. Get restarts. Restarts also help with mana a lot too. You're passively regenerating more mana. And use your CCs. Get your stuns. Get your clones. But don't do it too much that you're going to be a threat. If you have a case where you're going to die, there's a lot of cases, but I'll play a little more risque because I have Trinket Trank. If I have Trinket Trank, I know I'm going to live, so I'll play a little bit more risky. But if there's cases where you don't have Trinket, you don't have hots on yourself, be careful with the cloning, but don't be afraid to do it. Cloning is literally the reason that Druid's good in solo shuffle, so you got to clone. If you're just playing full PvE from behind a pillar, you will win some games, but you will, if our Druid is not meta, which it is currently not, you will lose. If our Druid is meta, that you can do that all day. You can just sit in the back and never do anything, just hot. But you are not, so you need to kind of take action and get the stuns, get the clones, and everything like that. Alrighty, well, that is about it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, please let me know down below, and I will get you guys some more updated videos on this patch. Make sure to check out the stream, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.